The Portraits of Life project is an art exhibit of photos and words that features the stories of Montgomery College students, both current students and alumni, stories of transformation, inspiration, and each of the subjects has overcome some traumatic experience in their life which brought them to the exhibit.
The project got started because Josh Freeman, who was a friend of the college, came to our former president, Dr. Charlene Nunley, several years ago after the college produced Portraits of Life Holocaust survivors in Montgomery County.
This sort of collective idea developed that we should do a Portraits of Life student survivors because we have so many students at Montgomery College who've been through all different kinds of hardship to come to this country, to come to this college.
After experiencing the first Portraits of Life project, he had the bright idea and insight to create this exhibit that we're seeing here and talking about today.
We got a grant from the Freeman Foundation. The late Josh Freeman had seen the Portraits of Life Holocaust survivors and really loved it and really wanted to contribute to this new project.
So the college embraced the idea and started the work on gathering these stories and finding the students and making plans to produce something that honors students at the college.
We put together the creative team that designed it and did the photographs and the interviews, and now we have this great exhibit.
My role in the project was a project manager, and that involved doing research, coordination with the subjects, with the executive creative team, contacting different people throughout the college to try and locate students.
Well, I was the photographer for the project, and that role is this is a very complex project, and it really involves many facets. The photography, obviously, just one of those facets, but a very important part, I believe, of the project.
I and several other faculty members were the writers. We wrote the texts that accompany the photographs. So our job was to take the raw interviews, sometimes 25, 30 pages of text, and turn it into 150 words that could fit with the photographs.
I was the exhibition designer, and I decided what the panels were going to look like, whether they were going to be in black and white or color, what the whole feel of the exhibit was going to be.
Talking with the students, doing an initial vet, so to speak, to make sure that they'd be appropriate and applicable for the project and the scope of it, and then sitting down with them for between 2 to 3 hours and just having a conversation with them about their story.
My responsibility was to create many of the photographs and direct some of them as well. Part of that responsibility was to come up with the style of the photographs, the kind of photographs that we were going to use, how we were going to shoot them.
It was a challenge because you're taking somebody's life and trying to condense it into a very short piece of text. So I would edit it several times. I would pick out what I felt were the most important parts of the person's life. Often the students used very evocative language, which I tried to retain. And then I would go through and cut and cut and cut anything I could, while still retaining the important part of the student's story.
I chose the photos and from the ones that were provided by the various photographers, and tried to create a cohesive image for the viewer. I also designed the catalog that came with it and all the other materials to support the exhibit.
I would work on whittling down their story to the 150 words that accompany each of the panels. So it wasn't my idea. I was thrilled and honored to be a part of it.
The show is unusual. I don't believe I've seen anything quite like it anyplace. Taking students' stories, very compelling, very interesting students, the diversity of the students, the range of stories, how many of them started in adversity and were able to transcend that adversity and end up here at Montgomery College and also do so well is a compliment to them, and also Montgomery College, and also essentially the American experience.
The panels are examples of those various issues, and this exhibit will certainly raise awareness about them and show not only that they're taking place, but also show that there's people here amongst us that have dealt with them, these issues, and are currently living with us and brushing shoulders with us, and have the opportunity to share with us and teach us some valuable lessons.
My Spanish professor, Professor Jones, apparently she heard about the project that David was doing, and she had known my stories before because she'd been my professor for like 3 semesters, so she knew what I've been going through, and she said, you have to really be part of it. I really want your story to be told. So I really also want to thank her because of this great opportunity to, she kind of pushed me to do it. So, well, here I am.
There was a student show going on with all the students' drawings and paintings, and one of my drawings is hanging right by the entrance. So like a big drawing of me in front of the White House. David Phillips was walking by and he saw people like looking at my drawing, and he asked me why I was so big in relation to the White House. And I told him that because my experience here in the United States made me grow as a person in the United States, very important to me. And he was like, oh, there's a new show, The Portraits of Life. It's about students' experiences like in their countries. Would you like to be part of it? I was like, sure.
It's been around 14 years since I experienced war in my country. That was the genocide in Rwanda. And it's been so many times that I really wanted to tell the story from my perspective, without the papers, without everything, but for what I personally went through. And I think that is such a moment for me. It's such a great opportunity for me to say my story. And that's what I think this is all about.
I come from like a bad area. It's very dangerous. I didn't feel like I had any opportunities in the place I was living. So I decided to come here to learn English and maybe try something else.
It takes you back to the moments. It's like you relive every moment you went through. It's like when I was talking, I kept on like having images of all the stuff we went through, all the way we just ran away, all the guns, all the bombs, all the people dying around. So it's always a moment that you relive. It's something that never departs from you. It's something that you walk with all your life. So it was difficult, but it was at the same time, I realized that I actually grew in a way because I was able to actually tell the story. So it was difficult at the same time, rewarding.
Everything had been going on here, the contrast is really big. Like in Brazil, I used to live in a very small house. I didn't have my own room, and I used to hear gunshots all the time. And when I came here, it was so silent, and I was living with a host family. I was working for them as a nanny, and I had my own room, and it was so different. I felt like I was a princess because it was very, very different, so much safer here.
The very first interview that I edited was a young man who had survived war in Sudan, had lived in refugee camps in Sudan and Kenya, and had gone through horrific circumstances, crossing a huge river, a wide desert, taking care of younger boys, even though he was only a boy himself. And it was the kind of the thing that you would read about in the newspaper, where it seemed very abstract and very far away. And suddenly it wasn't abstract and it wasn't far away. It was right here in my own community.
I think the stories of the students showcases a tremendously positive spirit by these students, considering their background, what they have experienced in their lives. Somebody once told me that, and I really believe this also, is your attitude determines your altitude. And these students have such tremendous attitude that there's really no limit to where they can go in their lives.